Hello there. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see you joining us today on this month's product update for Waybook. It is a webinar, but we're talking about Waybook. It is, of course, November. Welcome. Where has 2023 gone? And if you're as amazed by it now getting colder and darker here in the UK, then at least I can give you some more information about what's happened in the world of Waybook over the last month and actually what is now in your account that you may or may not have noticed to help you continue to get your business on the same page. For those of you joining and the regulars amongst you, welcome back. It's great to see so many names and I can picture your faces from your names. If we've met before and if you come regularly, if this is your first product update webinar, then also welcome and welcome to the world of the Wednesday evening or morning, wherever you are, where we get to talk a little bit about Waybook and to think a little bit about how we can further get your business on the same page. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name's Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook, and it's my absolute pleasure to learn a bit more about your business as we continue to go through today's session. So with that, please feel free to get as involved as you possibly can within these sessions. You've of course got the chat, and feel free to say hello on the chat, share where you are in the world. We also have the fantastic Sophia from Waybook, who is in the background, who will be able to respond to any thoughts or questions you have in the chat, and I'll also keep my eyes on it. And you also have the Q&A tab, so if you've got any thoughts or questions that you want me to address properly within the session, then of course you can go ahead and do that. But today we're going to be going through the fundamentals that have changed in the last month. Hello, Carrie, from Minnesota. I know you, Carrie. It's good to see you back again. Thanks so much for coming back. So in today's session, we've got a few things that we're going to go through. We're going to be covering the fundamentals that have changed. So these are subject descriptions. We've got reporting on flows. We've got the ability to export reports as CSV. I'm excited to show you some Waybook Ask Optimizations, which aren't yet in your accounts, but will be very, very soon. We also just want to re-share with you the AI structure builder, because we noticed that a lot of people who've been with Waybook for a long time might not have come into touch with this yet. So we're just going to show you that again briefly, and then just also take a quick moment to talk about migration support if you are still looking at optimizing and building out your Waybook. But before we dive into that, I'd like to take just a moment to have a quick look at what success looks like within Waybook. So most of us are here because we're trying to centralize our knowledge and create this single source of truth for our teams. And really, we do everything we can to make it easy for you as business operators to centralize that knowledge. And then, of course, as easy as possible for your teams to get access to that information. And one of my favorite things that I do is speak to many of you who are running your business or running your divisions and just hearing how you're utilizing Waybook, what more you would like with it, and some of the success stories. One of which is the fantastic John, who you can see here. John is an absolute legend. He's the head of customer experience at Wine Enthusiast. And what John said is he actually centralized all of his decision-making processes, the decision matrix, all of his onboarding documentation, the FAQs, the objection handling, all of the information for how they run their customer experience and customer success. Now, when he centralized all of that, he said that he actually reduced the onboarding time and the time to value for the team to just 20% of the time it took them before, which was quite incredible. And Wine Enthusiast went through this incredible stage of growth. And John said within the first month alone of centralizing their decision matrix, he estimates that they saved around $30,000 in reduced refunds or unnecessary refunds and unnecessary returns. And since then, they've continued to expand out their use of Waybook across all of the departments within Wine Enthusiasts. So that's just the stories that we absolutely love to hear. Now, I think I might have shared this story last month, which means that we want to hear more stories from you. So if you've had a great experience or you've got any thoughts, please do get in touch. And I'd love to jump on a call with you, hear a little bit more about what you're doing, and then I'll share it with everyone next month as well. So let's jump straight into the things that have gone into Waybook, which can hopefully drive you more to that success. So firstly, we've got subject descriptions. Now, the reason why this came about was because we were looking at the kind of usage around Waybook, and we've had a couple of requests where people would like a little bit more context for what's in a subject. So many of you will know that your Waybook is structured with your subjects, your documents, and your steps. And quite often, our readers will ultimately go onto a subject and work through those documents. Now, although the documents, it's quite obvious what they're about because we often have a purpose, a background, and the core information. It came quite strongly from some requests where they just wanted the ability to share a little bit more context about what was in that subject. So whether that's a department or whether that's a piece of knowledge, a folder of information. Now, also, we've noticed that having descriptions for subjects is actually really useful for readers to know what they're looking at, but it's also really useful for us as editors, because when we're looking at where we put new documents and when we're continuing to iterate and expand on our knowledge, it's quite nice to actually just have a sense check of how we describe a subject and where we should put that knowledge and information. So this is actually in your accounts, and what it is quite simply just a description of the subject. It can be as short or as long as you like. And the something that actually you might not have noticed because it's only visible when it's set. So it won't change your experience unless you want it to. Now, I'll show you that in just a moment, but this is already available in all of your accounts, and you can actually access that on the edit mode of the subject settings. So I'm just going to jump into my demo Waybook account here just to show you how that is, where that is, and what it looks like. So if we go onto a subject, so let's say we've got the Welcome to Studio 6. If I click onto that subject, you'll see here that we do have a subject description here. Now, if I go into Office and Admin, you'll notice that there's not a description. So if I toggle over into edit mode, what I'm able to do is go to Manage, add a description, and say all the essential knowledge and SOPs for Office and Admin. Now, let's not lie, that's a boring description. I just thought of it on the top of my head. Maybe you can come up with a better one. But as soon as we save that description, if we toggle back over into reader mode, you'll see that that is now appearing on the left-hand side. With this small change, we've also actually introduced a global percentage score on that individual subject. So users can actually see where they're at from a subject's perspective, and of course, how that's spread across the documents of that subject. So there it is. It's in your account. It's available. You can toggle it on and off as and when you'd like. And I'm sure that will be useful for many of you looking to provide that more holistic context to the knowledge people are looking at. Okay, number two, next up, let's have a quick look at how we are now creating reporting on flows. Now, we know that two of the most used features within Waybook are, of course, reports, enabling us to see who hasn't accessed what they've seen, if they've answered the questions correctly, when they last looked at it. But actually, we've also noticed that now flows are becoming a huge part of the Waybook experience for many of you and many of your readers. So that might be creating a custom pathway for a particular role, or it might be creating a specific set of trainings, perhaps for health and safety or whatever that may be. Now, with that, of course, you want to be able to track and report on those specific flows. And previously, you can do that by looking at the documents that are in the flows, whereas now you can actually look at your report specifically by an individual flow. Or, of course, similar to how you're used to using the rest of your reports, you can actually look at that either from a flow or a document perspective or from a member perspective. Now, once again, I will just show you very briefly what that looks like so we can get a sense of it. But essentially, this is all available in all of your accounts. It is available in the Reports tab. And of course, you can access that by customizing it on the Reports dropdown, which I will just show you now. So heading back into this account, of course, anybody with kind of admin or manager permission will be able to go into the report section. Now, if we go down into the report builder, this is where we can see all of the information across all of our content and all of our team. And of course, we can dissect and create that in lots of different ways. So instead of looking at the subject of Welcome to Studio 6, we can now look at the report from a specific flow. Now, say, for example, we've got front of house onboarding, or let's say therapist, or let's do the sales onboarding. What we're able to see is looking at all of the members who have been entered into the sales onboarding flow. What's their progress? So where are they at with it? What percentage are they through with it? Now, you can also flip that as well. So say, for example, we want to look at an individual person. So say we've essentially got, we've just onboarded L. And instead of looking at all of the subjects that L has access to, we can now break that down by flows. So we can say these are all of the training pathways that L is on, and we can actually see how far she is into that. Now, obviously, in this example account, she's basically got quite a lot of flows. Typically, people would have access to less. So it might be the initial onboarding, it might be a specific training pathway. And essentially, from this perspective, you can just manage their onboard and manage their training and their updating and their process from this flow view. So as mentioned, that is available in all of your accounts. You can go and jump onto that straight away and have a bit of a play. Of course, you do need to have your flows set up, which you can do obviously within your flows tab, and actually decide what flows you want to head into edit mode, what flows you want to create, what documents you want to add in what order. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the more detailed use of flows, you can also force the order, you can enable the deadlines, you can obviously set a description and decide who does and doesn't have access to that specific flow as well. So having your flows means you've got the reports, and again, that's a much easier way of you being able to follow people's onboarding. Now, whilst we're on reports, let's just take a quick look at another addition. So this has been updated in the last month, but was actually introduced a little bit before that. But you now have the ability to export any of your reports down to CSV. Now, the reason why we wanted to include this was because we noticed that actually some of our larger clients that are more focused on compliance, or perhaps not even larger, but actually have a legal requirement to track and to offer compliance, needed this kind of downloadable snapshot of their reports. Now, of course, you can always screenshot any of your reports, and you can actually save those reports as well. But actually, if you wanted a time-based snapshot of what has happened at that time, you can actually go onto any of your reports and you can export that as CSV and obviously store that against that kind of user, or against the knowledge that you're looking to share. Now, it's in the same location, so this is available on actually Pro plans, but it is also available in the same reports tab. So just heading back into your Waybook dashboard here, if I head back into that reports, we can go back onto the report builder, and let's say we're looking at the report on this welcome to the business. Now, this might be the annual health and safety, or this might be the cybersecurity policy, which you might need to prove to your third-party suppliers that everybody is up to speed. Now, of course, you can save that report. So this is just an easier way of you navigating back to your saved reports at any time. But at any point, you can click that export to CSV, and that will then give you that snapshot and store that for you as well. So that's the kind of broad introduction into your exporting reports to CSV. Again, available in Pro plans, and that is something that's on your account right now as well. So we're speeding through these. So if anybody has got any thoughts or questions, feel free to jump in the chat or the Q&A function. And whilst we're talking about asking questions, let's talk about Waybook Ask. So many of you would have already experienced the power that is with Waybook Ask. And genuinely, I'm always excited about everything. One, I'm always even more excited about everything Waybook. But Waybook Ask is just the creme de la creme of my excitement levels when it comes to knowledge management and helping people get their business on the same page. For those of you who aren't familiar, Waybook Ask enables you to centralize all of your knowledge, but turn that into an AI-powered chatbot that's fluent on your company knowledge. So any of your team can communicate with any of your documents in a chat format, and it's private to your team and specific to the permissions that they have. So we're now noticing that more and more users are using Waybook Ask almost more, and I think this will overtake in the next couple of months, than search. So instead of searching for documents, people are just asking for the information, which is an excellent way of making sure people have the knowledge they need when they need it. But we did actually notice that some people are also asking Waybook Ask questions about Waybook, which actually makes sense. And because we truly believe in the single source of truth, the power of a single source of truth, we want to essentially answer any questions that you have, whether it be about your business and your company's knowledge, or actually about how you use Waybook in the same portal, in the same location. So what you can now do is you can actually ask any questions about Waybook on Waybook Ask, but also about how to use, maximize, and get the most out of Waybook. So these mean that you can ask, you can chat, you can communicate in the same way that you're used to from an ask perspective, but it focuses directly on the Waybook documentation. Now, this isn't yet released, but you'll notice here it's coming to all accounts tomorrow. So if you're watching this on a replay, it's already there. So tomorrow is the 9th of November. For those of you on the call, we've got just a few hours to wait for this. And that is accessible on your Ask tab as well. And the way you get to this is you can just toggle between your sources from your Waybook to the Help Center. Now, I am going to show you this just to give you a bit of a sense of it. But in order to do that, because it's not released, I'm just going to take you into another Waybook. But before I do that, let me just share with you our internal Waybook, because that is a great way of me actually just demonstrating the core use of Ask as it is. So I'll jump into our Waybook, which is always very meta and sometimes confusing. But you'll see here in Waybook Ask, this is how we're able to communicate with all of our knowledge and how our team is fully equipped. So let's say, what is our brand tone of voice? Which is actually something I asked earlier, just to kind of clarify and share out with another team member. So you'll notice here that our brand tone of voice, friendly, enthusiastic, collaborative, open, supportive, and essentially you'll notice that that's come from a few different documents. So now we can continue to communicate and articulate. All of that is exclusively based on our internal knowledge and documents. So I can then say, what are our regular meetings? And as mentioned, this is only based on the content that I have access to or your individual team members have access to. So somebody shouldn't see certain meetings and they don't have access to the document. Waybook Ask won't tell them that. It's as simple as that. But let me now just jump into another Waybook document we're really jumping about today. And you'll be able to now start to see how you can use Ask to ask Waybook. Now, if we head into here, you'll notice that it looks exactly the same. You can ask your questions, you can speak to your Waybook. How do I find my expenses? Anything like that. But if we now toggle this source to Help Center, we can say, how can I export to PDF? So anything you might want to ask support, you might want to ask one of your team members on how to do it. You might want to figure out whether or not something is possible within Waybook. You'll be able to see, yes, you can export PDF for your from your company's Waybook. Here's how you do it. You can go to this document, you can export it, manage, blah, 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 or you can export to PDF. Enable your members to export to PDF. So you'll notice here that this actually has a whole range of sources, but instead of the sources being your company knowledge, this is, of course, Waybook's Help Center. So if you did want to look at that, you can click on that and it will, of course, take you to that relevant Help Center article where there's more information, screenshots, videos, and whatever else. Or if you want to know more, you just ask. So we can basically say, are exported PDFs branded? Now, again, I know the answers are in there, so it is going to give us an answer. So yes, exported documents will be branded with your company's colors and logos when you export a document. I won't continue to read this to you, but hopefully you get a sense of this. And we really hope that actually this will not only make it more efficient for you to have this single source of truth, but also make sure it's much more efficient for your team to get the most out of Waybook, as well as getting the most out of your company knowledge. So one other thing, now we're in the world of AI, is just to share with you the AI structure builder. Now, the reason why we really wanted to focus on the AI structure builder is because we always say it, and anybody who's deep into Waybook really knows this, that structure is everything. The value of having a structured, searchable, single source of truth means that we can onboard faster, we can train faster, we can remove the repetitive questions internally. But we also know that when we're creating and documenting our knowledge, we ultimately do have some unknown unknowns. So we have some unknown best practices. We don't know that we should document phone manner, for example, or certain policies and procedures that sort of just live in our head. So what we have here is an AI-powered structure builder, which is basically fed by best practice of various different internal documentation and different documentation methods. Now, you might not want to use this to create your whole structure because many of you on this call are already way past that. But where we see this being really valuable is actually using this as almost collaborating with the tool to identify inspiration for new areas and then perhaps selectively add that into your account. Now, this is available in all of your accounts, and you can access that from your dashboard. But what I'm going to do is just show you it. So on this top navigation here in edit mode, so you'll notice where the progress bar is in edit mode will change to this. You can go to the AI writer. Now, of course, you can write specific documents, but we're going to focus now just on structure. So we can say from a generic term, write a playbook for a legal practice with 50 people in Florida. Now, this will actually bring a high-level perspective in terms of everything that we think we should document: new client onboarding, practice management, risk management, compliance, personnel, client services. Now, with this, you can really communicate with this. And if you are already running a playbook on your Waybook with all of this information, you might not need that, but you might want to focus a little bit more within marketing. So we can then say, add in marketing procedures. Now, you'll be able to continue to collaborate and communicate with the structure builder. And what it will do is it will either create you a whole new subject with a series of documents, or if you actually ask for something small or an additional, it will actually just create a couple of documents in the relevant subjects. So now we can look at this and say, do you know what? We've already got that. We don't need that. We actually kind of want the information security, or we don't want this information. And actually, you can decide what you do and don't put in. And then, of course, add that to your Waybook, which ultimately means that we're identifying these new areas, these new pieces of information that is ideal for us to centralize and systemize within our business. Now, what you'll notice with these documents is it is essentially an empty document. So that is just the subjects, the structure, the information that we should be asking ourselves. And that's where we can then start to use the AI writer, the document writer, in order to pull in that best practice from our minds, from best industry best practice, or importing from other documents. Now, one small change you will also see tomorrow, if I head back into this staging site here, if I go into edit mode, once we're creating a new document, you will then be able to choose how you start your document. So instead of just having that empty screen, we can either, of course, start from scratch and get that empty screen, or actually it's now even easier to use that AI writer to generate your document, to jump into our templates, or of course to import from existing sources. So all of that will be a lot more unified once you get back into your Waybook tomorrow. So that is your broad introduction into your AI structure builder. The last thing I just wanted to share with you today is just a reminder, if you don't, or if you don't already know, just sharing with you the migration support that is available within Waybook. So we know that having this single source of truth is all important, but sometimes that knowledge still lives in far-flung places around the business and sometimes in our minds. So in order to keep that knowledge as close as possible, we actually have a team of personalized migration specialists. So this is a full-time internal team that literally just support Waybook customers bringing their knowledge together, structuring that information, and getting that to be really optimal and utilized to make sure that it works really effectively with search, with Waybook Ask, to make sure that your team have everything that they need to get it close. So typically, the migration support will help you convert, structure, migrate, and bring your knowledge in together. Now, this is available. This is available as an additional service, and you can actually request anybody in support to give you more information on that. It is an additional paid for service, just to satisfy, just to clarify on that. Of course, loads of support comes for free within Waybook, but because this is someone who will work specifically with your account deep into your knowledge, that's available, but it's all within the realms of making sure you get a huge amount of value of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, they are your fundamental things that we've done in the last month. We've got all of the essential pieces to make sure that you can centralize your information, structure that, get that to your team as quickly as possible, and of course, make sure that they can stay up to date as your knowledge changes and grows. You know, we're continuing to do as much as we can to make sure that Waybook continues to be the most valuable tool within your tool stack within your businesses. And we've got a lot coming up over the next few weeks and months as well. What you can expect to see over those next few weeks and months is improved document importing. This is specifically looking at Word and images and bringing lots of different things in. We've got improved AI document creation, including various different ways of editing your documents and improving your documents as well. We're making it much easier for you to manage your team permissions across documents, and of course, managing your notifications as well. We also have so much more that's going out, but with that in mind, we really love hearing from you and absolutely focus everything we're doing based on what we're hearing from you, what you need, what you like, what more you would like. So please don't be shy and do share as much information or as little, of course, as you would like with us, because we are all ears and we're always excited to continue to grow in the direction that works the best for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I think this is the closest I've ever got to a 30-minute webinar. So congratulations to all of us. But I will just keep my eye on the chat and the Q&A in case anybody does have any thoughts or questions or requests. Now is the time. I'm going to say this is the quietest webinar I've been on for a while. It's just you, Carrie, holding the fort down. But anyway, thank you all so much for joining me today, and thanks once again for utilizing Waybook to help you get your business on the same page and create that single source of truth for your team. If you've ever got any thoughts, if you've ever got any questions, please do let us know, and we are always all ears and always available to make your life as easier as we possibly can. Until then, have an amazing one, and I look forward to seeing you next month to see what we get into your account in December, and have a phenomenal week and month ahead. Take care now. Bye-bye.